man was walking along the path to his steed, but as sudden as the wind changed, a voice walked up behind him. It was Rhonda, the poor name because she bore similarities to one of the heroes of the Hellcombe War days. He looked at her, waving like a lunatic as he looked confused, and he just kept on gripping the lever handle and walked on to the journey ahead. He looked up and saw the dragoons flying high above him. He was wondering why the albino dragoon, its pure white scales, just shone in the night sky like a scene from a book by Melody Fella. But he looked around, the darkness was surrounding him, the trees darker brown in the daytime. But sometimes he just looked up to see the dragoons looking down, just staring at him. He had quizzed the dragoons, then banging his stick on the ground kept on walking. He could hear the scuttling of mice and rats running along the ground, but then was suddenly stopped in his head by the sounds of screaming. "What the fuck?" he shouted as a bolt of light came his way. "You're carrying my son's wand," Coral shouted from the top of his lungs with annoyance. "You again! You're haunting me!" Rand exclaimed as he looked at the scruffy man in front of him. "I am the Westwind Rider," Coral exclaimed with annoyance. "Your son's wand? Well, how come it's in my hands?" Rand exclaimed, whilst looking at the man in front of him. "What are you laughing at?" Coral exclaimed, annoyed this time. "I found it." Rand paused. "Master Gramp said use it," he exclaimed, as honest as he could. "Gramp all that man," as he said this. Coral coughs as he says this. What would happen if I just try and speak to Gramp? He exclaimed, most laughing. Gramp is an elder in Elvish community. Gramp is an elder in Elvish community and is a respected member of the tribe. Please don't laugh about him, Rand exclaimed, annoyed. Like Melinda's laughter. He stopped abruptly. He walked on whilst laughing under his breath. Rand walked off confused and frankly not shaken by the situation and rubbed it off. But he soon wondered in his head why he was being told it was his son's wand. Was this Jablena's father, or was he just imagining the whole thing through lack of sleep? It had been over 3 hours. He was walking back from the ruins of Mel's old hut. But as time went on, he just continued clicking, occasionally walking on his toes and wandering along the path that he was on. But time was of the essence, as he was hoping to find in the candlelight the wand that he had found. He was hoping to find the forbidden wand of Merlin, the great master, that created the full ring at the start of the war. But Gramp would never clarify this information. He knew a lot about the old land. His knowledge was of the old as the alchemy of desire. It was described as a petite wand, finely carved and sanded with black button tip before the shaft itself. But he could only imagine what this wand would look like. He had thought about going to Cloud9 again to find this wand, but he was only beginning to see the eyes of Gramp become more steadily worried about the land rediscovering the truth behind the land and how it was. But then again, he sometimes looked around to see the land as it changed onto the autumn, and it was looking exciting. But it was the season that excited him. He could not possibly know himself. But was time of the essence to find the wand? He wanted the whole Felard set. He had heard from his mother that they were all scattered along the ridges in the maps of Hellpump a long time ago. He steadily reached the point of his iceberg where the forests in Aegea, but soon realized the path was getting steeper. He could not walk up hills very well. It was like a pain searing through him, his ankles and legs. He could hear the cries of the fiery crow above him, its bead-like eyes looking down at him. He was somewhat not shaken by the bird, but just stood and watched his body slowly become tired, struggle up the narrow path, his stick constantly hitting the ground that was now banging as he walked up and up. It had been lush hills with onyxes, its large green hills with thistles and green stems growing through the mud. The hills before him large with wet and soggy mud covering the path. The way he saw it, he could hear the sounds of stags butting their horns with furious energy as the season was happening for them. The way he looked at the path in front of him was a challenge. He was ready to give up the walk or just sleep for the night. But he was determined and willing to challenge his mind to walk the path that night. He pulled out his silver and rose-bezeled watch and looked at the mechanism that was turning as it was. 1 a.m. now, and he was trying to get back to the tribe and turn in for the night. It was only then he realized the hills did not face him now. One day he would climb the hill of Utopia and become one with the wind. But he continued into his journey. In his room he lay, ticking off his pocket watch, just ticking on with the idea of the reason he was starting the quest. And well, he was happy to say it was right. The candle had blown out. He did not care to move as he had packed everything away. This time, with a smile, he lay on the bed. Who was the strange stranger with the white hair he saw? The next morning he arose to the smell of vegetables and chicken. They had made the breakfast soup. 1 hour passed and he walked to his table. But something was wrong, and he did not know what. It was Grant. He was standing at the table looking at him, his eyes looking tired but happy. "Ah, you found Mel's wand, I see," he said happily with an upturned grin. "Yeah, but what's so important about it?" Rand exclaimed confused. "Well, my boy, it's an omen. Mother and son reunited if you must," exclaimed Grant, now smiling. "You're saying there's more to this, aren't you?" Rand exclaimed happily. "Well, Rand, I've been on this earth for 90 years, and well, I kind of know that the archive is missing Merlin, and of course, you know the wand of Melinda," he exclaimed, whilst looking at ever confused Rand. He walked away with his staff hitting the ground. Rand sat on the table this time, clicking again with his mind, set on the fact that he was being asked to find something that confused him. "Have you ever seen the full set?" Grant exclaimed as he turned his head and walked away. "No," exclaimed Rand as he looked at the hurried man with a speed faster than the lightning of the darker winter nights. "Well, you will," he exclaimed mysteriously as he was out of shot. After breakfast, Rand looked at his room. A mysterious letter had been left. He walked up to his desk and bent over to read the parchment note. "Find the wands, leave them at the bridge of the waters. Don't hesitate, don't hover, just walk." He was confused. A private matter had occurred, and he was not too pleased with the task in hand, as it was a message from a man that once forbid the search for what he called the cursed land he inhabited. But was this a sign that Grant was being less private? He did not know. The way it unfolded was becoming clearer, and he assumed that Grant was the relative of the Fellards and was wanting heirlooms back. He turned the paper in front of him. "Have you been to Cartnigh? If you do, look closer. Very close. Don't waste a search." Now he was even more confused by that. Why would the elvish master want his help? He raised his toes up and clicked some more. He was just wondering what had happened, but sure as day is light, he just wandered on into the journey for the day, the archives, where many of the friends for years had been, and well, often just looked for old items from yesteryear that no one even gave a damn about. Chapter 14. The Reason. But the next day he looked at Grant, who was standing there in one of his weird looks. Grant looked rather chirpy by this point, and well, kind of in a mood that Rand did not understand. Sir, can I go on a journey now?" Rand exclaimed, smiling. "Well, young sir, why don't you continue on your journey?" Grant exclaimed with a happy smile. But he was looking at him with a look of weirdness. His eyes were just transfixed on the staff. "So you've decided to let me find artifacts?" Rand exclaimed, whilst watching for waiting for an answer. Can I go on my journey?" Rand repeated again. "Well, if you want, I need your help," Grant exclaimed, whilst looking at his hand now shaking. "Oh, I met the Westman Rider," exclaimed Rand. Gramps' expression changed. "Don't know who you're talking about, Gramp," Gramps stated whilst looking dismissive of the words. "He mentioned you from his past?" exclaimed Ram with curiosity. "I've never met the man," Ram quickly stated. Ram looked at him, gripping the staff tightly as if he was angry. "You look like you're annoyed, Master Grant," exclaimed Rand, whilst not making eye contact. "You see, I'm just wondering, because he mentioned Melinda?" exclaimed Rand. He looked at him now, looking like his smile had been wiped off his face, but with a look as if to say he was keeping it to himself. He bit his lip this time. "Do you know what your mind's telling you, Rand?" Grant exclaimed while looking serious. "Not to do the task and just let it go?" Rand exclaimed. "Well, it's a good decision," Grant exclaimed while smiling. "But why are you smiling?" Rand exclaimed while looking confused. "Well, I wanted you to be happy and, well, we're at peace," Grant exclaimed while holding his staff less tighter. What's so bad about the task in hand?" Rand exclaimed. "I have not seen war, but I have the idea of being more about protecting the secret of Merlin's circle," Grant exclaimed. Rand looked at him, then smiled. "You mean the reason was personal?" exclaimed Rand with a look of smiling on his face. But then he looked at him again, this time laughing. He was laughing at something Rand was doing, as if he was on his toes again. "You're doing that toe thing again," Grant exclaimed with a smile. "I am happy, sir," Rand exclaimed while clicking again. But he watched him turn round and look back. "Have you thought about collecting leaves in the portfolio of yours?" Grant exclaimed as he started to walk back to his office. Yes," Rand exclaimed with happiness. Finally he could rest, his job was done. He had destroyed the cursed wand of Redden. But in his mind he stopped questioning the man in front of him. The reason was unclear, and, well, kind of strange at the same time. Sometimes the weather was a change, but as the days went on he was drawing moons and inking them in with silver melted in a pot waiting for it to dry each time. But as then he looked outside and noticed the tribes were sad. A coffin lay in the middle of the ground. It was a dark oak with leaves etched into the side. It had been etched with the name Grant and Bastille, and well, he was unsure why this had happened. "What's happened now?" he let slip as he looked out at his window. His eyes darted to the blind elvish man throwing his staff on a burning pyre. "Bring me your soul," Blind Man Willie spoke as he could see the flames consume the wooden branch that was 80 years old. He looked back at the window to see a blank expression on Rand, who was standing with his hands in his pockets, but with a look that was not sad on his face. "Thank you, Graham, for showing me the truth in life," he stated, the immense silence. One hour passed and he walked up to the burning coffin. He looked at him with a smile on his face. He took the death wish and threw it on the pyre, then watched it burn in the flames, the sounds of gemstone beads just rolling off the coffin, the sound of stones just rolling into the hilly ground, rolling off the edge of the riverbed, and falling and sinking into the water below, the deep waters below. "To the end of the line," Rand exclaimed, but then, disturbed by the blind master, he turned round and looked at him. "He tested me." "What did he ask you to do?" Blind Willie exclaimed at him. He turned round and looked at him. "He tested me on the subject of finding realization that it's not always about finding. It could be about a journey that you take," he exclaimed without emotion. But then again, he had not changed, but had realized that something had changed for him. He was no longer looking for answers, but mainly just being the Rand he was for years. He looked at the wand now gone. He noticed the ashes of the coffin had appeared, and his master and teacher had now been burnt. The end of the line for him. It was in that moment he could see the light shining from a hole in the sky. A man, he always said. But then he remembered Grant always seeing a man called Pateno, whom was the land, the lord and master in his eyes. This was then he had realized that it was true, that Grant was right the whole time. He looked in the distance. The Westman Rider looked at him with a stern look and smiled. "Did you not tell you, Grant? Did I not tell you, Grant?" He went silent and walked away. "What did that mean, sir?" Grant exclaimed whilst looking at him. The Westman Rider pulled out a small wand with polka dots on them, then chanted, "Retell!" He dissipated into thin air. Rand looked around and saw nothing. Night time came, and he closed his eyes and fell asleep. Chapter 1. The Trees Whisper Prophecies. Rand was sitting in the hut that was once owned by General Grant. He often wondered if he was related to Elvis Elder Grant, the white-haired man that stood with a stature that no one wanted to face. The furniture had some character, an old battered sofa with faded leather, years of it. The way he saw it was that the scratched-up wooden oak furniture was more than he wanted to see. It was 10 years on, and Rand, now sporting a solid grey hair colour and very stubbly, now in an almost unkempt manner. He could see the windows lashing with rain. The autumn had come, and he was tiring his journey in Helcomp's old town. He could see outside the crows were gathered at the husk of Redden Tower. The realization he was the ancestor of Mel did not annoy him. The legendary general was more of an oddity. I wonder if the fucking point of exile is cruel, he uttered whilst clicking continuously. He could see the black leathery crow had a vole in his beak. It was dangling with its tail frantically moving, the brown small vole just trying to escape. The crow was not caring. He was looking over the last remains of the Berthalium, all the rest was destroyed, but he had realized that you cannot rewrite history. Winter had just been a bore in the years gone by. The Elvish settlement not even wondering where he had gone. He could remember the exile, but what did it mean by come back when you're finished? It was more like a swan song for him. Now he was looking for a new demise, the end of the cold weather. He could see the trees large with roots going in and digging into the ground. His eyes were redirected to a point in the room. He gazed confused as he clicked. The man in the picture had long flowing white hair, with eyes that were leaf green, no speckles whatsoever in the colour. The nose was long like a crooked hook. The tunic was brown with leaves going down out of it. But he was not too sure. What it was? He could see in the distance Redden Tower. It was falling apart with damage to stained glass windows. The woman he had met was Melinda in the picture. She was standing with a black silk dress on. It had been sewn with red and yellow buttons. They were in the shape of pentacles. The eyes were before she was locked in the 200th floor by Redden the Seventh. She was happy. She was holding a black wand with only a style to it. Mela was next to her flowing brown hair, her blue eyes like her triplet sister Melinda. They were not lookalikes. She was wearing a phoenix on her necklace. It had a triangle beneath the phoenix. She had knee-high leather boots with straps and golden-handled wand with gemstones inside the thread. The wand was light brown with a dark brown point to it. He looked at the Dragalant decider with happiness. The light brown handle with bulbs and golden accents that made it stand out. He looked at the tower. He could hear a noise of horses outside. A man wearing long black robes dismounted the horse. The horse was a black horse with striking bluish eyes, its mane jet black flowing down. He could see the man was carrying what can only be described as a long broadsword, a pair of phoenix boots fiery with yellow and reddish tones riding up the sides of his boots. His eyes were darkened to the door, his stride heavy and brutal. He had brown eyes. Meeting them would make a grown man weep. His helmet was made from steel and silver. The leaves were intricately woven by gold stems and silver leaves. It did not look cheap. The helmet had a phoenix with gold and silver wings, the fiery tail made from white gold and yellow fused with silver. The beaks golden. He lifted his helmet off his head to reveal a mane of brown flowing hair. He looked at the door. He strode up to the door and gave 3 distinct knocks. His armour golden with a silver pendant, not unlike the one Mela wore when she was a general. He kicked the door in with a heavy boot from his steel boots. They had intricate leaves as well. Rand? I want you to do me a favor. A favor now, he barked with a fearful look on his face. Me? I'm only a traveller, he clicked as he swore as this happened. I need your help. A man crippled. I need your help. A man? A crippled man, he barked again. I thought Merlin died. He clicked as he explained this and went on his toes. I am the Order of Redden. We need you now, he barked again, this time with a sword held high.